Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. One round of games already completed in the new season of the Jamaica Premier League. The league organisers, the Professional Football Jamaica Limited, hosted its opening press conference that happened earlier on Thursday, where one of its directors, Donovan White, revealed that prize money for this season's champion is yet to be decided.
That has, for last season, have been paid over to the clubs. Let me just be very clear about that. The prize monies for this year, we are still, as a board, discussing that based on our targets and what we are trying to achieve. And as soon as those are finalized, those will become public knowledge as well.
This second JPL season is set to run for 6 months and will retain the playoff format used last year for the knockout phase. White also spoke about the successful implementation of COVID protocols at the competing clubs.
Less than a 0.1% positivity of all the tests we did for players, and we tested every week our players right through the season. And we had less than a 0.1% of positivity in cases. So, and in all cases where there were positive cases, they were all asymptomatic. So far this season, the teams have reported no positive cases. And teams, as you can see from the first week of games, are in shape, and that means they've been working and training hard. I believe it is important to say that our clubs have adopted our protocols and lived by them rigorously and are following the protocol set and agreed with the Ministry of Health. We get sporadic tests, inspections at club venues and at match venue from the Ministry of Health and from ODPEM, and they have reported no variances in their report thus far. So we knock wood on that, and we have to use the opportunity as well to congratulate the clubs and the club administrators for managing the protocols in a very difficult time and a very difficult situation. And so far, we've been I have to say we've been excellent in delivering on the protocols and obviously keeping the league going.
Yeah, so George and Mariah, when the league was resuscitated back in June of last year, football fans in the country happy that domestic football was back in business, but there were some financial issues, weren't there? And the prize money issue for last year's championship had also caused some dispute at some point, and they're trying to straighten things out for the new season.
Yeah, and what I got from the press conference today is that things look a bit smoother, as we rightfully would expect, with Chris at the helm for a second time. There seems to be, now it's the same format as in, they're waiting to see how well they do financially this year, then to give a proper figure as to how much money people will get. What I do know is, based on how Michael Ricketts spoke today, is that they're working very closely with them to ensure that he was using the phrase, and this stuck with me, family. So it's like you never really owe your parents. So that, they will work closely and help as much as they can to ensure that, they maintain their relationship with the Premier League, and that, there aren't similar financial problems like last year. Because if you remember, they were in the red, and that's where the issue arose. So I know they're going to try their best not to end up in the same situation, and I think that's a smart thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to look at the action on the field and what the PFJL have put on so far with the JPL. Mm-hmm. The action on field has been good. I overheard one of the questions about venues. People were asking, why the use of this venue, because still some people can't, accept or appreciate the action on the artificial turf. And we have said on commentary, Lance and myself, that the use of the artificial surface, we believe, is one of the best things about this league. Yeah. Look, there are problems for the players, but I'm sure if you ask the players about the bumpy fields that they play on and the misfortune of, or the discomfort rather, of the heat from the synthetic surface up through the sole of their boots onto their feet. If that's the only issue that is going to hamper them, if they take that relative to the problems that they have with these substandard surfaces that are around the Premier League, I'm sure when after consideration they'll take this. So I want to make it clear that from my perspective as a person who, how long have we been covering this league, Lance, the Premier League in Jamaica?
6 years?
In whatever iteration, 6 years of doing more games on the Premier League than perhaps another media entity who was doing, well, not even perhaps, but more than anybody else.
Yes.
So we've been to games on Sundays when there are 3 people in the stands.
I remember when I came and you all were gone
Yes.
every weekend.
and a playing surface that is 60% dirt, 20% weeds, and then some struggling grass and all of that, and a sinkhole over one side of the field. I will take the artificial surface over that any day, and I think it just looks better on TV. And the players, it's a difference when you're a professional playing football. You can anticipate the bounce of the ball. You can trust what the ball is going to do as you approach the ball or as the ball comes to you. It makes a huge difference. And players, before last season, only very few surfaces in Jamaica could players take those liberties on. And I'm saying...
Very few or none.
Well, Catherine Hall at its best, because when Catherine Hall is properly maintained, the grass cover is excellent.
Yeah.
So Catherine Hall and perhaps the National Stadium. Yeah. But beyond those two, no other surface could you trust the ball's bounce or trust what the ball would do as it approached you. And I think that is significant. And for that, I'm sticking up for the surface that the games are being played on. And I will book no argument about whether or not the games should be played at the UWI-JFF Captain Horseball Centre of Excellence.
And what is clear, you mentioned it, the way how the broadcast comes across now, everything just looks clean and nice and new. And that's what we want. That's the direction that we're heading where Jamaica football is concerned. So I think we're doing well.
Yeah, I think because the Jamaica Premier League organizers, though, are player-friendly in their concept and in their approach. They have tried to respond to the players' complaint about the artificial surface and the difficulties that Georgia spoke of with the heat in coming through the artificial surface and so on. And they did suggest that they would try as much as possible not to play all of the games there. I still got the impression that most of the games would be played there, but not every single game. Last season, there was 1 weekend or 2 weekends where they had Stadium East matches. Okay. And I think there were enough complaints from players about the surface that made them pledge. I'm not sure if it had gone that far, but there was a suggestion that they would try to, have matches at other venues. But I quite agree with George. I'm not on the field playing, but I know what it feels like to play on an artificial surface, and it really is a pleasure to play on a field like that because of how true the bounce is and how level the surface is and so on. So I accept some players who don't like it very much, but from a broadcast...
I know you're on borrowed time, but let me just say this too.
Yes.
The majority of the complaints about the surface at the facility is because of the time of day. It's not the surface itself. They're saying that playing under this heat. Right. So the cooler games, you don't get the complaints that you get in the
that's right.
high noon games. And that's the problem.
And the truth is we can't control that because we're in Jamaica, there's curfew and there's so many other things. So, we have to find some middle ground. Okay,
well, still with football, President of the Jamaica Football Federation, Michael Ricketts, has confirmed that the video assistant referee, VAR, will be used for the Reggae Boys' remaining home games in the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying group. This is the first time that VAR is being used in a CFU country.
CONCACAF has indicated that they will be sending 3 technically trained and competent persons for the game on January 27. We, as it relates to the facility itself, I'm pretty certain that we'll have to make some adjustments, but we are hopeful that we would have had enough to make the process workable. But yes, we will be having at least 3 VAR technically trained persons for the game, Jamaica-Mexico on January 27th.
Yeah, and of course, for the matches that we had seen previously at the National Stadium in Kingston, no VAR in effect there, and there were at least a couple of occasions when it was questioned because the general feeling is that why is CONCACAF not falling in line with the rest of the confederations globally.
Yeah, and we know there are mixed reactions when it comes to VAR. Sometimes it's in the headlines, mainly for the wrong things and not for the right things. But VAR stands for Video Assistant Referee. So once it assists the match and it doesn't create controversy, then by all means, yeah, let's fall in line.
I'm disappointed it's taken so long, because it's not as if the stadium is in a barren wasteland where you're going to have to build stanchions on which to have the correct camera angles and the technological support for the VAR. A lot of that is already at the national stadium. It's a facility that can hold 30,000 people at its maximum. And based on the design of the stadium, the infrastructure is there for you to mount the cameras. So I was always wondering, why did it take so long? And I'm very happy that CONCACAF has obliged, and we'll be having it for the rest of the campaign.
Yeah, and the real issue, George and Mariah, is that FIFA, well, football is a global sport handled by FIFA, and there are 5 confederations globally that are under the auspices of FIFA. So there was this feeling in CONCACAF that this confederation was not moving in step with what was happening, because the other World Cup qualifying series all have VAR. The CONMEBOL in South America, the Europeans, of course, have VAR at their disposal. So there was always, in the past couple of months when World Cup qualifying had started, this question mark over why CONCACAF, as the lone confederation without VAR, is putting itself in this position.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to see that it's actually coming to pass, and we look forward to see how it benefits the game of football on a whole.
Yeah, still more football discussion to come here on the SportsMax Zone, including the Carabao Cup second leg semi-final between Arsenal and Liverpool, and it was Klopp versus Arteta. The story on that and much more after this.